Welcome to Selling Circular, the podcast dedicated to exploring the innovative minds and business models shaping our transition to a circular economy. I'm Sabira VP of Product at SpareTech.
I'm Garr, CEO of Loop Layer. What a Thanksgiving break we had.
Yeah, it already feels like ages ago. Was it last week?
I know it's
Yes.
flying by.
Yikes. Yeah.
As you can see, we've got some changes here. Uh, you've got swatches.
I got
Um,
swatches and white hairs, both.
oh,
I can
you want
see
to talk about
both.
the grays? Okay, you want to talk
They're
about the white hairs? Yeah,
they're co- they're
you're
coming
pushing
in
it.
real strong.
Oh yeah. Are you gonna go gray? Are you gonna do it? Like, if
I
it
am
full
not.
goes?
People say that, like dyeing is fine and like hair dyeing, right? Not dyeing,
Yeah,
like dying, dying,
dying is
dying,
also
dying.
fine, but we want to live. Yes.
Yes, we were trying to live. But I don't know. It doesn't click with me. It's like kind of like the artificial sugar thing. Like I'm okay. I think I'm okay in natural, but I've seen everybody in my life, like all my parents' generation, like they don't mess with the grays. They do all
I'm not gonna.
color.
I don't know what this guest of ours did previously. We had a guest on that I saw recently that his hair was different and he had a lot more gray and it looked phenomenal. So I will say
Okay.
that I'll let that person share that story. But gray's cool. Gray's a look.
Yeah, I don't mind. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, we've
Yeah.
got different studios here. I'm in
Yes.
my partner Callie's studio,
Looks
or her
nice.
office. Yeah, it's got color, it's got pictures. It's her vibe. I'm gonna get back to my cave vibe soon. I'm happy with that. I will zhuzh it up a little bit coming up. That's
A
gonna
little
happen.
more. Mhm.
But so are you. You're gonna do some zhuzhing. You've got some color going on.
Yeah, I'm working on some paint, some trim coming
Nice.
soon, and then hopefully artwork eventually.
Good.
The
Okay.
plants are here. You just can't see them.
Yeah, we should probably put some in frame eventually so that people
Yeah,
can see some
eventually.
greenery.
It's like
Um, well, yeah, we had a great Thanksgiving. We didn't end up usually around this time of the year. We're able to say hi to each other in person. Weren't able to
right.
make it happen, but we got a good break out of it. And we took, a kind of week or so, maybe 2 weeks, not post, which flew
Mhm.
by. Also
Mhm.
was weird because I just wanted to keep interacting with new content coming out, but it was like, no, this is good. This is healthy. So it felt nice.
Yeah. What did you do anything that was circular?
Oh, interesting. No, I thought about this. I thought about what could I do or say that was circular focused for Thanksgiving. I mean, I'm really good. This is standard, so everyone's got their recipe. Maybe not standard, but I recommend doing this. That taking the turkey carcass, because this is
Yeah.
like one of those times where I eat meat and enjoy
Mm,
the
an
wonderful food that is
exception.
presented at
Mhm.
Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and I took the carcass and made a phenomenal soup the next day. So that was my zero waste.
Like a
Full
broth.
overnight, slow cooked the bones down into an absolute stock broth, and
Wow.
then made spiced that back up to a phenomenal soup. I was
Ooh,
really proud of. Um,
that's really
I bet I could
nice.
write that recipe down. I was thinking about it last night actually.
Ooh, that's a
And
nice
then
idea.
there's something branding wise. I'm just so happy is going on with Thanksgiving. We had it happen at a Friendsgiving and at a Thanksgiving where people just know that they shouldn't waste food. And if they're done with their plate, they're going to run it by me first. So I scrape off the food that they haven't eaten and eat that myself. And I'm great with that. That's a
Oh
full
my
on
god,
brand that I'm okay with
that's
putting in
so
motion.
good.
Yes.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, exactly.
I sent out baby shower invites because I'm making a little human.
Yeah.
And, it's a weird thing for me because a lot of people keep asking about a registry. And I think there's like a couple of ways to go, right? Like one
Hmm.
is go the donation route for a cause that I care about. But also I think I found that this is a moment to try to educate people. We didn't do a wedding registry. Um so yeah. So this was like okay, I can link to either Amazon links or Facebook Marketplace links, that Amazon links that have like open box or,
Oh yeah.
not the new option, and encourage people, or even we walked into Once Upon a Child for the first time that weekend, that Thanksgiving weekend, and they have, like, quality stuff that's
Yeah,
on
they
my
do.
registry, and they can
Again, dream
point to
guest.
yeah, oh, yes.
Yep.
Windmark? Windstar?
It is.
Windmark.
Yeah, I think so. We're working on it. Yeah, it's a corporation. They do great work, though. Yeah.
Yes. Want a franchise.
Yes.
Um, and a lot of the stuff that's on my registry is physically there. So we try to, like, point people to, like, "Hey, these are real options of what how you can support us as new parents, but do it secondhand." And unclear, like, I can see that people are getting us stuff, so when stuff arrives, we'll be able to tell if it was actually new or new in box and if they followed through, but try to use this moment to
Yep.
spread the circular word.
I Yeah, it's that uncomfortable thing that you're trying to go, "Hey, check out this thing that we do want that's not maybe new. Just give a go. It's not that hard." This isn't so that's good. That's a good push.
Yeah, and it was kind of impressive and easy to put together a secondhand registry. I think I thought going in it was gonna be hard, and so I didn't wanna do it at all, but when I looked into it, yeah.
This I think this is gonna be fun. It's gonna push the show in a great direction with a child in the mix.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
gonna
gonna
be
be a
exciting.
whole new world of not although we've actually been doing pretty well, and I think those that on LinkedIn might have seen this, that I posted about my visit to Unless Kids, which
Yes,
was fantastic. It's
yes,
so cool
yes.
to see
Oh,
Nick
look
in
good.
person. But I think pushing us in more kids' directions of waste and
Yeah.
reuse, that's
It's
gonna be
gonna be
fun.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, today's episode is also super special to me.
Yes.
Our guest is Vishal Kumar, Executive Director of Waste Warriors, which is a nonprofit tackling a very challenging waste problem, managing waste in the fragile ecosystems of the Indian Himalayas.
Um, this is where this was kind of this is the first solo
Yeah.
interview.
Yes.
So I had nothing to do with this wonderful interview, got to listen in. And I was fun to just be an audience member to this one. It's just I can't remember why. It was the timing of whatever we had going
Yes.
on at the time. As it is. But here's really something that surprised me and might also surprise you, that the tourism in the mountain regions of India generates an enormous amount of waste, and yet visitors never think about where that garbage actually ends up. And so this is where, when it comes to places like Dharamshala, pretty good there, nailing that one,
Mhm.
great.
Mhm.
Uttarakhand,
Uttarakhand, yeah.
close
Mhm.
enough. Okay,
Close.
I
Mhm.
can take that. But what I do know is Dharamshala is a city, and the Uttarakhand is sort of the state region,
Yep. Mhm.
um, and that there's lots of again waste that ends up from maybe tourism there, and there really aren't the traditional waste management systems present in those mountain regions. I took a lot through, or like a little tourism through the pictures of these regions.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow, so pretty. Just nothing but mountains and rivers. And it's
Yeah,
very
it's
cool.
really nice there.
But these just end up really those trash the trash waste end of this ends up in dump sites in some of the most
Yeah.
really ecologically sensitive areas on the planet.
Yeah, it's when you drive there, it's kinda wild because you can see, like, waterfall, beautiful waterfall trickling down, and then you look kinda down the mountain and you can see trash waterfall down the mountain, right? Because people just, like
Whoa.
it's not even there's, like, open dump sites, which, there's, like, the infrastructure where trucks go and dump, but
Yep.
then also people just, like, take their bags and throw it over the
It's
mountainside.
funny you say that. I was in a mountainous region of New York visiting my younger brother, a Buddhist monastic, and that found the same thing. We pulled off on the side of the road and just looked over, and there was just piles of trash from people dumping it. So
Yeah.
still a
It's not
problem
just
here.
an India problem, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is a people problem in a rural area
Yes.
infrastructure problem.
Yes, yeah. And so the reason this episode is special to me is because Vishal and I go way, way back. We were desk neighbors at a company called Saahas Zero Waste in Bangalore, where
Which
I
some
got
people
like
might remember.
I got my true exposure. We did an episode with Wilma and I got my like true circular economy exposure there. And he had helped build the e-waste consulting practice, and then he made like some really bold career choices. He left urban life behind, and now he's leading this 200-person organization that operates completely in remote mountain communities.
That's nuts. I mean, just
Pretty
listening,
cool.
just even trying to understand how to do that. It's one thing. We're gonna have another guest coming on and doing the rural areas of the United States. This
Mm,
is a whole nother mountainous rural
yeah.
sort of problem set. So in this conversation, we explore what it really means when people say working in waste is a lifestyle, not just a job. Vishal shares how Waste Warriors is partnering with state governments, building infrastructure where nothing exists,
Hmm.
and even launching a responsible tourism movement that's really changing how we who go to visit those beautiful places should engage with the places that we visit. And so, really educating tourists.
Yep. And we get into hard questions like what happens when demand for solutions outpaces the capacity to deliver them, and also how younger generations are stepping up to become climate action leaders within their own communities. So it's pretty inspiring.
Fantastic. I loved the grassroots natures of this. So, grassroots circular economy in action
In the mountains, let's go.
in the mountains. Well done on this one.
I'm very happy that you're here. It's so cool that I mean, cool that we can talk across the world, and once upon a time we used to be desk neighbors, which I miss those times. That
Absolutely,
was
me too. Yeah,
what?
yeah, me too. Absolutely, I miss those times working next to you, working next to Annie, and I think
I
just that
know.
environment we created. It was just
It
something
was
magical.
something magical at Saahas Zero Waste. Yeah, we're having Wilma on the podcast too, so that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Um, when that was maybe like 8 years ago. No,
Yeah, 2016.
2016, 2017, 2018, we worked together, and now, yes, it's been some time. And so what I love about your story is that you joined Saha Zero Waste. You started leading the e-waste practice, and then finally, when you wrapped up your time there, you started leading a nonprofit organization in a totally different geography. So I want to first talk about like the transition from being like part of a more established organization to going to a nonprofit. It was still like established, but that I want to go there first, and then I want to talk about the geography. So what was that journey like, that switch?
Um, it was very organic, I think, very intuitive. I think while at Saahas, we were trying to set up the e-waste portfolio consulting business inside the e-waste portfolio, but that role was never limited to that. And I think, very early on, I felt at home in the sector and I felt at home in the organization, the values of the organization. So I knew this is kind of what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I felt um, organically it felt to me that I want to be running an organization like this. So I was already always operating from that mindset from day one. Like it wasn't, I didn't look as any work as below me, or any work that it's not part of my role, or I just have to think about e-waste. Like for me it was always the larger spectrum of building the organization.
Mm,
And that means like doing the job of a receptionist, doing the job of an admin, doing the job of an HR, doing the job of a marketing person, doing the job of operations, or business development, whatever it is, or strategy, visioning, mission. Like we've done that together. Like we wrote basically we wrote the vision, mission, theory of change, and all those. We designed all of that together, right?
yeah.
Like it's really that it was a very organic transition, and the beautiful part was Sahas gave us that space to do it. With Vilma's leadership, and she trusted us to do that. um, so when I moved from there to the next step, which was at Renew Oceans, an American nonprofit was looking to start in India. That was my first experience in nonprofit, but it was an American nonprofit that had already raised a lot of capital in the US. So it was more
Mm,
about execution on the ground, and that was again a beautiful experience of registering an entity, to setting up an office, to setting up a team, to the basics of an office, like even buying like bathroom slippers and a doormat for the office. From there literally to
yeah.
setting up the team and setting up the project and government partnerships. So literally it was ground zero, as an opportunity I got. And then after a few years, getting this opportunity at Waste Warriors to run this organization that had already done 8 years in the Himalayan region. I think it was I mean, I feel very, very fortunate and grateful to have had this opportunity at such a young age, I would say. But I feel I was always working out of the mindset of running an organization. So that way,
Mhm.
that transition for me was very natural and organic.
And so to help us kind of get to the geography question, you chose a life. So you were in Bangalore. You had gone to school in like different places, but you were in a major urban region and city. Then you were in Varanasi, also very dense. And then now you're in the Himalayas and you got married in between. How did you like your career motivations are like leading you to this kind of role, but that's a big lifestyle change that you chose to make. So what went into that decision?
Um, I think working in waste is much more than a job. I think working in waste is a lifestyle, it's a life choice, and it broadens your perspective to many dimensions. It's not just waste that goes in the bin, it's all forms of waste that you start being mindful of,
Mm,
uh, including like, water, energy, food, etc., everything that we end up wasting, and this kind of mindless consumption that we actually end up doing, and how it harms us actually as a as an individual and as a society. So being mindful of all of this, for me, like, to have an opportunity to work in a rural area, to be working in the Himalayan region, I mean, again, I look at that as a blessing to have that opportunity to do that. It theoretically allows you to slow down, but my role doesn't allow me to do that. But I think we're able to create that space for people to spend more time closer to nature. And fortunate enough, like, a 20-minute drive from my place is a beautiful, like a nice trail. It's like nature, lots of birds and waterfalls. So it's like, it's beautiful, like you want to be close to nature and do the kind of work you do. So and I don't look down upon life in a metro. Like, I think I've enjoyed everywhere I've lived. So I enjoyed my time in Bangalore. I loved my time in Banaras and Varanasi. I think that's a place that's super special to me. So I've enjoyed everywhere I've lived, and I think that's for me, like, and this is again a beautiful experience living in the Himalayan region and working in Himalayan regions. All our offices, we have 10 to 12 offices in beautiful locations. Like, you just see the views from those offices, and you see that, people around. Those are places where people spend dollars to come and visit, right? And this is for us like daily work. So it's, we're very grateful, and we don't forget that, when we look
mm,
at the mountains, just driving back home or walking back home from the office, seeing the mountains around, it humbles you and you feel grateful. You don't take it for granted. So.
that's a good point. And I think, I mean, I don't actually know that history of waste warriors, but my sense from all of the waste organizations in the Himalayas take that inspiration of we want to protect this ecosystem, we want to protect the beauty, we can see the degradation, so we want to do something about it. Can you tell us a little bit about the origin of waste warriors?
Absolutely. So I think, it's like most waste organizations, it usually starts with a small group of passionate individuals, right? I think Waste Warriors was founded by Jody Underhill and Tashi Parekh. Like, both the co-founders were deeply connected to nature when they saw the problem of waste, being dumped so openly in the Dharamshala in Himachal, which is such a beautiful location, which is the home of the Holy Dalai Lama, which is such a beautiful, little location. It really, really pained them, and hundreds and thousands of people see that and have learned to ignore it. But these small group of people felt that pain and chose to do something about that pain rather than choosing to close their eyes and shield themselves. And it is a curse to see waste and act on it, is a curse, because it is so difficult. You keep seeing it everywhere you go. It's not easy to cut off, like, once you start being sensitive to it, and which is why people chose to cut off. You don't blame them, because it's so overwhelming living in India. There's
Yeah.
poverty all around. There's, all these kinds of things that you have to shield yourself against. And some point you're shielding yourself so much that you become inhuman. So I think it's about being
Mm.
human and expressing yourself. Therefore, this group of individuals just got volunteers together, started cleaning up. They didn't have a grand plan, they didn't have a vision, they didn't have a strategy, they had no budgets for like almost 5-6 years. They didn't pay themselves, but literally just wanting to do this for the environment out of a pure, volition to serve. And that spirit is something that's still very much alive in the organization, that spirit of serving, even though we've scaled up significantly from what we were back then. That spirit is something we always hold very dearly, and we hope as we scale and as we grow, we don't lose that. We call it the warrior spirit, as waste warriors. So we keep talking a lot about the warrior spirit, and especially in India right now, there's a war going on, and some people are talking about slowing down, not traveling, not working, etc. And I'm like, boy, hey, people, like we are fighting a war every day. Like we are fighting this massive war against the environment, which is why we're called waste warriors, right? We're not going to back off during this period. We're going to do our job and make a statement, that this is war is equally important fighting rather than just the war on the borders.
Yeah. And so tell us a little about the mountain region. I think it's if you're not from there, if you've not experienced it, I have not had the distinct pleasure of visiting you and Waste Warriors, but our friend Preetham, who I visited in Sikkim and the mountains, the geography is like mind blowing how the infrastructure is set up and down the side of the mountains. And I've had like wild experiences walking to my homestays or Airbnbs and like be outwinded, and like much older people are like casually walking flights and flights of stairs to get to their homes. But maybe just describe like what you see every day as the organization of society in the mountains and what that means for waste.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question because the regions we work in are primarily rural areas. So the Himalayan states overall has like 13 states across, like the Indian borders. We work in 2 states, in Uttarakhand and Himachal, which are on the western side of the Himalayas. Um, the locations we work are primarily tourist areas, but villages around these tourist areas and forest areas, right? And many of them are very hilly terrains. Many of them, like a vast majority of households that we work in, do not have access to road. So the nearest roadhead would be like multiple, kind of stairways or narrow paths that you'll have to walk. Um, and during monsoons or during winters, during winters it snows a lot. During monsoons, it rains a lot. So to walk up and down these areas is very hard for waste collection by foot that needs to happen. And sometimes in many of our locations, there's no access to network. So in the entire village, there'll be one spot where you'll get phone mobile network. So you'll see people actually walking all the way up there to get to the mobile network. So there's some remote areas as well that we work in. But in that remote area, you have all kinds of single-use plastics. Everything has reached. There's no network, there's no road, but you have all single-use plastics that have reached. So the forward logistics, somebody has really paid attention to make sure that it reaches the remotest part. Like you'd see one village ends here, there are other villages so far away, but even that village will have its own shops and everything would be available there. But the reverse logistics hasn't been factored in or figured out. The life of people in the mountains, I can use the word difficult, but I don't want to, because I think that's a way of life that, our bodies are used to, and that's how we've lived. I think we in urban areas are used to more convenient life. So we think of it as a difficult life, having to walk so much, but I think our bodies are built for that. They're not so much built for working,
Yeah.
in such stressful environments, in a closed indoor controlled environments. So it's actually harmful for us to work in these controlled environments so much such that, we're not able to work in these outdoor environments. And these mountain communities do not have controlled environments. Their homes, their cars, their everything is natural outdoor environments. So they're very closely impacted by changes in temperature, right? So if one season there's no snowfall, and last few years that I've been here, like the snowfall has just vanished. It's literally like people, like they depend on that. The entire water source depends on that. Their agriculture depends on that. The apple orchards depend on them, right? And snowfall, like we keep talking about climate change like it's this theoretical thing. It's about a numbers game, but like these are real people, and mountain communities are vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And mountain communities, it's proven that the mountain Indian Himalayan region is warming much faster than the global average. So when the world reaches about 2 degrees, the mountain Himalayan region will have reached like 3.5 degrees, right? And they're already sensitive. They're the to impacts of climate change. So it's it's really like very painful to see in many ways. Their farming being impacted, tourism being the only option, and tourism leading to over tourism, to leading to waste being dumped in such eco-sensitive areas. Like, we work in a lot of wildlife areas. We work in the Corbett Tiger Reserve. We work in Govind Wildlife Sanctuary. We work near Kempty, which is near Benog Wildlife Sanctuary. So we work near lots of wildlife sanctuaries, and to see waste being dumped there and wildlife being impacted, their consumption patterns changing. Bears are being found close to dump sites. The feral dog population is increasing because of dump sites, and their feral dogs are now chasing snow leopards away. So all of these kinds of things you come across, you interact with this a lot. Like, the interaction with wildlife, and especially wildlife around dump sites, is very high. So that is something that's very painful to see and keeps us going to do the work we do. Yeah, I mean, I think mountain people are very sweet. I think they're really, really sweet. In mountain people, very simple, very sweet. So there's also some, households that we work in which aren't so sweet. Like, I think that's just the rural nature. That people don't want to pay this 30 rupees that we charge per month for waste collection services. It's a 1 rupee a day, right? That we charge for waste collection services. That local entrepreneurs we try to empower to provide the service. Only 50% of households are willing to pay. After a lot of awareness, a lot of intense work with communities, like focus group discussions and having tea with them and getting them together, lots of awareness messaging, but only 50% of the households actually agree to pay this fees and get the service. So we're still trying to wrap our head around how do you get the other 50% to come on board. But it's just been 3 years, last 3-4 years, that we've been working in this manner, and we've had lots of success stories during this period. So yeah, overall,
Yeah,
it's a lovely
and
place to work.
that's what I was curious about, is there's like a lot of cultural, I would say, like history or baggage from not just like the time in which that forward logistics got established, from even before culturally the relationship with waste has had like just some historical um attachment to how things are supposed to be. Can you talk a little bit about the history of the relationship of how people think about waste and how that impacts your work?
Sure. I think in uh, historically, village communities have been very sustainable. All the materials they would use would be just simply out of no choice. They would make it using local fibers, local materials, terracotta, bamboo, natural fibers, biodegradable materials, all their baskets and, daily utensils, things they use. It's
Yeah.
just natural. They would use some different kinds of uh, you know uh, uh, trees, stems, barks for brushing their teeth. Like, all of that was such natural means of livelihoods, for all of them, in terms of how lifestyle, how they lived. Mixing that with modern world right now, a lot of the kids of the villagers actually have a lot of exposure to urban settlements. They travel to a lot of urban areas, so they bring with them those habits, you know plastic toothbrushes, plastic buckets, uh, you know Maggie packets. We've heard villagers complain, oh, these kids, they want to eat Maggie and chow mein all the time. We just want to eat our dal chawal, just like rice from the village, like that's all we want to eat. But these kids are like spoiling us, etc. So I think historically there's been a lot of sustainability, but over the last many years, now that a lot of things are not available locally, they are forced to buy a lot of things from the market which comes in packaging, and they don't have a choice. The entire Himalayan state region generates about 8.5 million metric tons of waste a year, and conservative estimate is about 60% of that is burnt in the open, right? Just outside every home, small communities, just burnt or dumped, in the forest and in water streams. And these are such pure water streams, like glacial waters are flowing there. There's a very interesting story of Dharamshala's dump site. There's a village right below the dump site of Dharamshala in Himachal. It's so well hidden that any tourist who goes to Dharamshala will never be able to see it. It's so beautifully hidden. But there's a village right below it, and the boys of that village are not getting married because every monsoons, such leachates and toxins enter the farms and homes of those villagers, right? That nobody wants to send their daughters to that village.
Mm,
And this is a problem that nobody's ever going to talk about when it comes to waste. We keep talking about all the other aspects of it, like climate change and numbers, but this is
mhm,
real impacting real people in a very real way. Um, so waste, you know, people want visible cleanliness, but the back end processing is not something that villagers have thought about, because that's not something they're used to. They've just been used to natural materials. uh, uh,
mm,
it was okay to burn whatever they were using earlier, but to burn plastics is not very good for them. They know it also, but they're like, what to do? We don't have a choice. We don't have a service. Nobody comes to our doorstep to pick up waste.
mm,
The nearest hospital is like 6 hours away. How are we, what do we do? Like, waste
yeah,
collection service, nearest processing site would be like 12 hours away. Like, who's gonna
yeah,
come and pick up our trash?
yeah, and that's where Waste Warriors comes in, and actually, the last time we were in person together, I got to see this video that your team produced on what it's taking to recruit people to join your team and to work with Waste Warriors, and say a little bit about that. Is like there's not only like this, oh, we don't know what to do with the waste, but there's maybe like an aversion to working with waste and being part of the solution if you just have like a certain perception of what that means for your livelihood and your social status. So what have you come across?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that narrative of working in waste being looked down upon is across the spectrum, right? Like, from a waste collector, to the team that's working on the ground with the communities, to even our managers, and including myself. Like, all of us have been looked down upon, by our friends, by our communities, by like, oh, this guy's working in waste, like, it's like, what the, couldn't find anything else to do in his life, or is he going and picking up trash? Like, that's what he's doing every day. Like, he's a waste picker. um but for us, it's still easier to handle it. But I think we have some women from the villages that we work in, like upper caste women from that village, educated women who are actually willing to work in waste, uh, for not such huge sums of money, but just because they're so concerned about the environment and seeing the
Mm,
village dirty. I mean, they are so inspiring, fighting such barriers. People look down upon them, their families, their um, you know, uh, like the father-in-law, the mother-in-law would really try to pressurize the daughter-in-law to, they won't eat the food that she's cooked, calling her names, that, she's working in kuda, we can't, in trash, and we can't touch, the food that she eats. Our families coming from a priest heritage, and look at this girl working in waste, going door to door, spoiling the name of the family, having to hear all of this and still showing up every day with so much courage and hope. For some of the team members that we who work with us, I think that's phenomenal. And for a lot of people, it has changed. Like, it starts off with that negative perception, but over a period of time, over a couple of years, I think when people start seeing the recognition that our team gets for the work that they do,
mm,
and the kind of places that we get appreciated in, the kind of awards we get from the government, from private institutions, and we send these very team members to go get those awards, right? Or
mm,
the newspaper interviews that come up, and then their family feels proud. Then they're like, oh, our daughter-in-law has been working in waste, and
mm,
our daughter-in-law's photo is there in the newspaper. Like, nobody in our family has ever come in newspaper and been appreciated by the district
mm,
magistrate or by the mayor of this place. So then a sense of pride starts coming in, and then other women want to
mhm,
start come and work, right? So I think
mhm,
it's very cultural. There's lots of stigmas of working in waste, like
yeah,
things like sanitary waste, because when you're going door to door to collect waste, people are putting their sanitary waste in it. Now,
right,
when you're coming back to the center to sort it, like, you're actually going through other people's, like, diapers, like literally going through other people's shit,
yeah,
and sanitary waste, which is so hazardous. And for well-to-do educated women, or upper caste women, or lower caste women, for anybody to do this kind of work, it's not easy. And like, people show up with such courage, that it really
right.
leaves us so inspired to do more for them. I think we inspire each other. Like, it's a very good positive loop that we keep kind of going through. And
Yeah, it's so good.
it's
And
almost like a
yeah,
bubble that we live in. Like, it's a positive
yeah,
bubble, and we're very happy living in our own bubble. Like, this whole
yeah,
toxic world, and everybody's so stressed. Like, we love what we do, all of us, and we enjoy what we
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's overwhelming, but most of the days we love what we do.
Yeah, and that reminded me, I mean, in our podcast with the Wilma, we didn't talk about the fact that Saahas means courage, and that's like, but and that's how we found each other, right? Is that word
Absolutely,
is you have to
absolutely.
show up and keep
You
doing
have to
it.
show.
Yeah,
Absolutely, but it's a thankless job. Like, I mean,
yeah,
to be honest, like just a few days ago, actually a couple of days ago, I was in Jim Corbett Tiger Reserve, and I just got down from the car and I looked on the sides and I saw so much trash everywhere. And we've been working in that broadly in that region for like 10 plus years now. And for a moment, it just like I was feeling so hopeless, like, oh my God, like, this
mm,
problem is so overwhelming. There's just so much
mm,
to do.
yeah,
And how are we ever going to solve it? Like, how is this problem ever going to get solved? So sometimes it does get overwhelming. But then I went to one of our waste banks where the women were sorting waste and, they were, having a conversation and, some of the other women were driving an electric vehicle to go door to door to collect waste, and just seeing them work in the heat and showing up and doing it with love and laughter and spirit, like really just gave me so much hope. And again,
yeah,
I was back feeling energized and wanting to do this again all over
yeah,
again. So I
yeah,
think those are
yeah.
beautiful moments.
Definitely feed off of each other. So okay, so Jim Corbett Tiger Reserve and other tourist areas. Tell us how tourism helps and hurts. We kind of we can assume how it hurts, right? The waste goes way up, and I think also my guess is that there's like regional or like Indian tourism and international tourism, and they have maybe like different impacts. So yeah, so how does tourism help and hurt?
Uh, I mean, it helps in the way that if tourism is done the right way, like if people come to the mountains and live like mountaineers, if people go to forests
Mm,
and live like foresters,
mm,
right? Like how forest villagers live, then it's helpful. But if you want to go there and live like living in a metro city, if you want to party there like you party in a metro city, like in a, you know, then it's not very helpful for the person visiting or for the community at large. So that's the challenge with tourism, that it tries to serve, make people again convenient, rather than actual really experiencing the place, like experiencing local
mm,
food. Like local
mm,
food is dead, like you can't find local food in Uttarakhand. Like you go anywhere and try to find local Uttarakhand food,
mm,
which is good for the environment, it's good for the people there, it's good for local culture. It's simply not available. You just get all these not in normal regular food that you get anywhere in the
mm,
country, any place. So
mm,
um that's one thing with tourism. The other side is tourists now want to go to more remoter parts. They're not satisfied with just being these commercial hotspots, right? Like because any location becomes popular, then Dharamshala was this. Now Dharamshala is 50-kilometer radius of Dharamshala is Dharamshala.
mm,
Right?
mm,
People want to go
mm,
to these interior parts. So you have these nice homestays and properties and you know very exotic places that you have lots of nice properties of all budget ranges, but the challenge is these places are then so remote that the reverse logistics connection becomes very expensive, right? To collect the waste and bring it back in these properties, and nobody's willing to pay for those services as well, to pay the true cost of those services. And there's no consequence of non-compliance. You can just dump it in the forest. Nobody's going to question you. So I think the way tourism is happening right now, it's definitely causing more harm than good. The kind of buildings that are being constructed, the kinds of experiences that people are seeking when they travel to these places. On the other side, things like trekking, spending actual time in nature, walking in nature, forest baths, like walking in forests, those things I think leave a very positive impact on people, because we have seen people being transformed when they spend time in nature, right? And especially when we nudge them to do a cleanup drive in nature. Young children doing cleanup drives in nature, old uncle and aunties doing cleanup drives in nature. I think that is such a beautiful sight, to see, and it transforms them because all their lives they've never picked up anybody else's trash. They've seen it all
mm,
their life living in India, but to do it the first moment is a moment of hope, that from being othering the problem, that oh they are doing the problem, to being part of the solution, to think that oh I can do something about it, like from feeling helpless ki, oh the government is not doing it, the people are not doing it, to
mm,
taking charge and feeling that I can do something to solve it. Like that first little step of just picking up somebody else's trash. And
mm,
you've seen this beautiful thing where a daughter, She was interacting with us. She started picking up trash. Then her parents came and they started picking up trash because they wanted to role model in front of their daughter. They didn't want to look bad in front of their daughter. So it really, I think, transforms people if done the right way. And we're actually trying to create a responsible tourism movement where we're trying to nudge tourists visiting Dharamshala to leave the place better than they found it by just taking 30 minutes out, 30 minutes of little acts of kindness that they can do for the city, for the place, for the
Yeah.
people. And we are enabling that through technology, through chatbot, and through local infrastructure that we're creating. That, for example, the vision is, if you're packing, if you're traveling to Dharamshala during winters and you're packing your clothes, you're packing an extra set of cloth, warm cloth, that you will go and donate to a waste worker's child in Dharamshala and have chai with the family there, right? Like, you're being
Mm-hmm.
so sensitive that, okay, if I'm going to that place, can I do something for the people or the place? And take out just 30 minutes of my time. I'm gone there for 3 days. I can enjoy. But these little acts of kindness is something that we are trying to provide nudges for tourists, starting off with Dharamshala in Himachal, but of course, scaling up across locations. So that's a responsible tourism movement that we're trying to build.
That's very cool. And is the regulatory landscape helping you at all, or is it still kind of hands off?
I think it's getting much better. I think in the last 5 years, if I were to say, it's way more hands-on now. I think the
Mm.
governments in both Uttarakhand and Himachal are really supportive now. They're really keen on solving the problem. They still obviously struggle. They have their own constraints, but I think, especially in Himachal, for example, we just signed a 3-year MOU with the state government of Himachal as a strategic partners for solving the problem of waste in the entire state. And they mandated all their officers to visit waste warriors to see the work that we do, to learn. Because they've never seen a waste management facility. They've only seen dump sites. Like, if you're blind, like, how will you know what colors are, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they've never seen a waste processing site. Like, it can actually be processed. It doesn't have to be a dumping site. So that ray of hope is something that we're providing, and then eventually, create models that are scalable and the government can then adopt. So we're seeing a lot of buy-in from the forest department, from the tourism department, from the Swachh Bharat mission, from the rural administration, across the spectrum. And I think it's a very good sign. It's just that there's so much demand for solutions now, and there's not enough people working on the ground to solve the problem. And we're
Mm.
struggling. We're really stretched. We have 200 full-time warriors,
Wow.
and yet we are stretched beyond. We're getting so many demands from government, from communities, from villages around the regions we work. We're not able to cater to the demand, anymore. So I think we're really struggling with that. So we
Oh,
need way
wow.
more organizations working on the ground to solve this problem.
And are you seeing the newer, younger generation getting more involved, or like what's the range of who the warriors are?
Uh, I think yes. I think younger people are a lot environmentally conscious now.
Mhm.
They also struggle with lack of guidance and direction. Like, for example, I didn't know when I graduated that I could build a career in waste. Like, I had absolutely no idea. I knew I was interested in this
Yeah.
for the 4 years of my undergraduation.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that there was a career opportunity in this. And I feel that, lack of awareness is still there. So we are also creating a youth movement called
Mm.
Youth United for Waste and Climate Action in Dehradun and Dharamshala, where it's no longer about making youth aware. Like, awareness is out of the picture. Like, it's about action. It's about climate actions that we get youth to take off their places around their schools and homes and communities on the route that they usually use. Can they start taking ownership of public spaces and become public problem solvers, right? So we're creating those nudges so that once they start taking those actions, they will eventually choose careers in this space as well. That's our hope. And many more organizations will come up. Already we're seeing lots of young people do this work across the spectrum, and we're hopeful that it's only going to increase. And not just youth, but we're also seeing a uptake in a lot of senior corporate leaders transitioning to the social sector. A
Nice.
lot. There are
Yeah.
some many senior people in the corporates are now looking to transition to the social sector. Of course, they bring with them their own prejudices and biases also, some of them, many of them rather. But
Yeah.
I think still it's a good sign that human consciousness is evolving, is kind of getting more positive to try to be more part of the solutions.
Yeah. I really like that you connected hope and action, that like when you see action happening, like that small step, that's what's giving you hope. Normally we round out our episodes asking about hope, but I want to talk about action instead. So how do you you're in kind of a, you say you work in remote places, but you're still working like these tourism hubs. What would you want the audience, your audience here right now is international. like how could they get involved and support the work that you're doing, and what would you want them to kind of open their eyes to?
I mean, there's so many things that we need right now. But I think for themselves, I would first urge them to any place they travel to try to understand what happens to the waste that they generate there. Where does it actually end up? Try to just follow the trail and see where it leads them to. It will be a place that will transform them forever. Or visit a dump site. And if you don't know how to visit or where to visit, contact us and we'll take you to one. It really transforms you from inside when you see a dump site in such beautiful eco-sensitive areas. So that transformational experience is something that we can provide if you're interested. And anywhere you see any place you travel, try to find at least one good organization that's trying to do good for that place and support them, with your time, with your money, with your skills. Um, more like, even with your skills, I think got to be mindful that you use your skills where they need it, not so much try to drive strategy for them. Just do what they need you to do. Like, don't try to apply your brains to say, oh no, don't, why are you doing this, do this. I don't think ever put down anything that anybody's trying to do. You can always add on, but don't question why they're doing what they're doing. We get asked that a lot, like, why are you solving this problem? You should be solving that problem. I'm like, sure, why don't you solve that problem? We're happy solving this problem, right? Please come along, we're happy to work with you to solve that problem, but we can solve
Yeah.
only this much. So don't
Yeah.
put anybody down, but always
Mhm.
add on to it and find
Yeah.
little acts of kindness every time you travel. And if you're ever in the mountain states in Uttarakhand or Himachal, come visit us, see the work we do, and if you can support us along the way, I think, nothing like it. Just well wishers, spreading the word and contributing as well if you can. But whatever you can do, become a waste warrior wherever
Thank
you live.
Yes. Thanks so much, Vishal. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you so much, Sabira. As always, lovely to chat with you.